Did you know that the Aboriginal black population of North Africa lived in that region since the Deep Pleistocene, the Ice Age, and the early Holocene when the Sahara was green before going extinct? Right now, North Africa is known to be Amazigh in terms of genetic heritage, but within their DNA remains a genetic legacy of the black Aboriginal North Africans known as the Ancestral North Africans. However, even today, there are still small but visible communities of black North Africans living across North Africa. These communities are not the ancestral North Africans, nor they are the direct descendants of the ancestral North Africans. Rather, they are people who are genetically Niger-Congo who became North Africans due to the history of the Trans-Saharan trade, a brutal but lesser-known historical chapter of the Trans-African slave trade. And from the ashes of this dark episode rose many North African communities with Niger-Congo genetic heritage, who today represent one of the most underrated black demography in the world. But first, it is important to talk about the black Aboriginal North Africans before highlighting these groups that emerged during the Middle Ages. The ancestral North Africans were a group of people who diverged from the basal East Africans approximately 100,000 years ago, making them a highly divergent lineage compared to their Niger-Congo, Nilo-Saharan, and East African cousins who all diverged from this same ancestral population. The ancestral North Africans moved into the northwestern part of Africa, ranging from the Mediterranean to the Atlantic coast and deep into the Saharan frontier. They lived throughout the Pleistocene and Ice Age periods as hunter-gatherers, hunting Barbary sheep, Barbary deer, Barbary boa, and other North African fauna as they clung to the northern Mediterranean fringes and mountain valley refugia like the Atlas and Isna-Sen ranges during the Ice Age. During that time, roughly 30,000 years ago, the first wave of West Eurasians arrived, a Zutzuana-related population that mixed with the Atlas and northern populations of the ancestral North Africans, giving rise to a hybrid population known as the Ibero-Maurusians. While in the southern range of the ancestral North Africans, they remain genetically intact. During the early Holocene, when the climate stabilized with the formation of the Green Sahara, the ancestral North Africans adopted pastoralism through interactions with the first waves of Levantine farmers arriving from Egypt via the North African coast roughly 8,000 years ago, as is verified by the 7,000-year-old Saharan herder mummy from Takakuri, who are found to be 93% pure ancestral North African. This means that in the Sahara, the ancestral North Africans were not replaced by incoming herders. Instead, they adopted the technology of pastoralism through cultural exchange rather than being overrun by migration. They learned how to herd, manage livestock, and even becoming lactose tolerant while still remaining genetically almost identical to the hunter-gatherers who had weathered the Ice Age thousands of years earlier. For nearly 45,000 years, the ancestral North Africans maintained their distinct genetic identity. However, between 5000 and 3000 BCE, their isolation shattered due to two simultaneous events. The first was the collapse of the Green Sahara. Around 5,000 years ago, the African humid period abruptly ended. The lush savannas, rivers, and lakes of the Sahara dried up, transforming into the hyper-arid Sahara Desert we see today. The pure ancestral North African herders could no longer survive into the deep desert interior and were forced to retreat back toward the Mediterranean coast and the Atlas Mountains. The second event was the influx of Neolithic farmers at the exact same time that the ancestral North Africans were fleeing the drying desert. They come into contact with early Neolithic descendants of the Ibero-Maurusians, often referred to as Epipaleolithic survivors or early Neolithic Maghrebi populations. At the same time, new waves of Levantine pastoralists swept across Egypt into the Maghreb on top of the existing Levantine pastoralist communities, while early Anatolian farmers crossed the Strait of Gibraltar into Morocco. When these populations collided within the narrow and fertile coastal strip of North Africa, they mixed heavily. The pure ancestral North African lineage was rapidly diluted as it mixed with these massive West Eurasian genetic components, resulting in today's Amazigh people, both Mediterranean Amazigh, Atlas Amazigh, and Tuareg Amazigh, together with some Nilo-Saharan groups located in the Sahara Desert, becoming the indirect descendants of this great lineage, as some of their physical traits, such as the small pseudo-monolith eyes and unique head formations, is still found among modern phenotypes carrying echoes of this ancestry. Amazigh phenotypes such as the Barbarids, Targids, Canarids, the Siwa and the Moorish, and also the admixed Nilo-Saharan and Niger-Congo phenotypes such as the Saharan Ethiopid, Paleo-Saharid, and Fezanid. Now, let's talk about the modern black North Africans. But before I get into that, I have an important announcement. This video is just an introduction to these black North Africans, but in my book, World Encyclopedia of African People, I go much deeper. Not only did I talk about each and every black North African group, but also on each and every Afro-derived group, from the oldest lineages to the youngest and all the lineages in between, together with the ones that emerged during the Middle Ages and colonial era, plus the global Afro-diaspora around the world. In each chapter, I explore their genetic and ancestral backgrounds, history and migrations, geographic distribution, phenotypic traits, languages and communication, traditional lifestyles and economies, cultural traits and customs, modern identity and diaspora, and much, much more to each and every African ethnic group. It's an eye-opening read full of knowledge and one of the best way to discover your African brethren. The book is available on Amazon and is the best way to support my channel. The link and more details are in description. Thank you very much. Now let's continue today's video. One of the most famous of these groups are the Gnawa of Morocco. The Gnawa emerged primarily from West Africans and Sahelian populations brought into Morocco throughout the trans-Saharan trade networks during the medieval and early modern periods. Many of their ancestors come from regions around the Western Sahel, include areas connected to the old empires of Mali, Shonaghaï, Kanem-Borno, and Hausaland. Over generations, these communities became naturally North Africans while still preserving fragments of the ancestral Sahelian spiritual traditions, musical systems, and ritual practices. Today, the Gnawa primarily speak Moroccan Arabic, also known as Darija, while some communities also speak Amazigh languages depending on the region and family background. Within their ritual songs and spiritual vocabulary, traces of old Sahelian and West African linguistic influences can still sometimes be found. Phenotypically, the Gnawa possess the Fezanid phenotype, a blended appearance combining various Sudani traits with Libid and Barbarid influences depending on the family and region. But a lot of Gnawa families who arrived late to Morocco appear more Sudanid, while the old families appear more Fezanid. But what truly made the Gnawa legendary was their cultural expression. Gnawa culture is one of the most spiritually rich traditions in North Africa. Their music combines deep hypnotic rhythm, iron castanets known as krakeb, spiritual chants, and the guembri, a three-stringed bass instrument whose sounds form the backbone of Gnawa ceremonies. Historically, Gnawa rituals were associated with healing ceremonies, trance states, spirit-possessing traditions, and communal gatherings known as Lila ceremonies. Over time, Gnawa music spread far beyond Morocco and became internationally recognized. Another important group are the Haratin populations of Morocco and Mauritania, together with the Shoshan communities of Algeria and the Stambali communities of Tunisia. Although these groups emerge in different regions, they all share historical links to the trans-Saharan slave trade networks that connected North Africa with West Africa and the Central Sahara. Linguistically, these groups are also diverse. Moroccan Haratin communities mainly speak Moroccan Arabic and Amazigh languages. Mauritanian Haratin primarily speak Hassaniya Arabic, and the Shoshan communities of Algeria primarily speak Algerian Arabic, together with Amazigh languages in some region, while the Stambali communities of Tunisia mainly speak Tunisian Arabic. The Moroccan Haratin, Algerian Shoshan, and the Tunisian Stambali population are commonly associated with the Fizanid phenotype. But among Mauritanian Haratin and Shawi Haratin of Morocco are more Niger-Congo derived. This uniqueness is a result of not mixing with the Amazigh locals, who are known to practice strict ethnic endogamy, unlike the Arabs who practice a more tribal endogamy, in which a child of a black concubine inherits the tribal status of the father. This is why many North African Arabs have between 5 to 15% Niger-Congo derived ancestry. Culturally, the Haratin became deeply integrated into oasis societies, caravan towns, and agricultural communities throughout the Sahara. Many worked historically in oasis cultivation, irrigation system, date farming, and trade networks that sustained life in some of the harshest environments on Earth. Yet, despite difficult social histories and marginalization in some regions, Haratin communities develop rich oral traditions, poetry, music, and local customs deeply tied to desert life. In Tunisia, the Stambali tradition became particularly famous for its spiritual ceremonies and music. Today, the Gnawa are well integrated in North African societies, as they were represented in local pop music and sports, especially football. Then we move toward the southern Tuareg aggregations, especially groups such as the Kel Ahagar and Kel Tassili. These populations occupy parts of southern Algeria and the Central Sahara and represent one of the most fascinating examples of Afro-Amazigh blending into North Africa. Historically, the Tuareg world was never genetically or culturally uniform. It was a massive desert civilization connected by caravan routes stretching from the Maghreb to the Sahel. Linguistically, the southern Tuareg people primarily speak Tuareg languages belonging to the Amazigh branch of the Afro-Asiatic language family, especially Tamahak and related Tuareg dialects, while many also speak Arabic or Sahelian languages due to trade and regional interactions. Among the southern Tuaregs, many individuals possess the Saharan Ethiopid phenotype. For the black Tuaregs, it is a random blend of Sudanid phenotypes with Targid influences. But there are some who are more mixed and others appear more Sudanid depending on families. The culture of the Tuareg is one of the most iconic in the Sahara. Unlike many neighboring societies, Tuareg culture historically preserves strong matrilineal traditions, and women often held unusually high social status within the community. Tuareg artistic expression is extraordinary. From their silver jewelry and leather craftsmanship to their poetry, music, and indigo veils that gave them the nickname the Blue People of the Sahara. Their songs and oral epics speak of migration, desert warfare, caravan journeys, love, and survival across one of the most unforgiving landscapes on Earth. But before I wrap this video, Libya and Egypt also has its black population, but their story is different, in which they are Nilo-Saharan instead of Niger-Congo and are indigenous to the region, unlike the others who were brought during the trans-Saharan slave trade. And I will mention them when I'm making videos about Nilo-Saharans. And that's it for today's video. If you like this video and you want to learn more, check out my previous videos. And as always, stay curious, stay smart, and thank you very much for watching.